Welcome back. Today I want to talk about freedoms in China and actually the attitudes and thoughts of other expats living in other Southeast Asian countries. This video was inspired by a video Guelo60 done a couple of weeks ago where he was talking about, he spent some time in the Philippines now. Philippines is a place I visited about a year ago. And he was talking about the attitude of the expats there towards China. And I really sort of, concurred with him. But my experience was expats, foreigners who were living in Thailand. Now, about 18 months ago, I spent probably 2 or 3 months in total in Thailand. We did a Huawei project there. Just to cut a long story short, I left China about 6 months before all the COVID restrictions were lifted. I'd had cancer treatment. I wanted to go home and see my family. I'd been in China all the way through COVID. So we left China, we did a bit of traveling around, and I ended up in Thailand. I then went back to the UK to see my family. I jumped back to Thailand. I'd only been there about sort of 7 or 8 days, and then all the COVID restrictions were dropped. The borders opened again and I came back to China. I didn't want to come back before because I didn't want to quarantine. I was dead set against having to quarantine. Anyway, get back to the story. So when I was in Thailand, I spent some time in Bangkok. I also spent some time visiting a friend in Pattaya. And I spoke to a number of foreigners, predominantly Western foreigners, expats who are living in Thailand. A majority of them don't actually work. They're generally sort of more middle-aged or older guys like myself, predominantly males. I saw the odd 1 or 2 and predominantly males. But ultimately, I started chatting to some of these, and the conversation always gets round to that I live in China. And you see, when you mention you live in China, they go, oh, no, I would never live in China. And it's like, okay, so why wouldn't you live in China? Well, I value my freedom. But then when you push them, they don't really know what they mean by that. But often it will get down to the point where they say, oh, well, you can't say things about the government. And that's absolutely true. In China, you can't criticize the government. But just on a side note, in Thailand, you cannot criticize the king. You can actually go to prison for criticizing the king in Thailand. And also, there are a number of European countries. I think Denmark is one of them, where you can also go to prison for criticizing the leader of that country. So when people say this about China, it's kind of a bit of a damp squib. Now, yeah, of course, you cannot criticize the leadership in China, and that's fine. But I would argue, why would you want to? Why would you want to? What does it achieve? You know, all these people that talk about freedom of speech in America, you know, we have the right to freedom of speech. Well, actually, there's a lot of things I would argue you can say in China that you can't say in the West. But that's not the subject of this video. What I want to sort of really do from this video is sort of show you that, you know, this notion that there is no freedom in China is just absolutely nonsense. There's many freedoms in China, like one that a lot of people talk about. I can walk along the street, Guelo does often, drinking a can of beer, and there's no problem with that. Now, you can't do that in America. And the other thing I would say is freedoms mean different things to different people. So Chinese people, actually, it's not an issue to them that they can't criticize their leader. They don't care because, again, they go, well, what actually does it achieve? But I would argue there's freedoms in China that you don't have in many other parts of the world. So the freedom to be able to walk in cities very late at night without fear of being attacked or having your things stolen. The freedom to be able to be in a cafe and have your laptop and your phone and your bag at the table and go to the toilet and come back and still find those things are still there. Chinese people have the freedom to do pretty much anything they want to, or anything they could do in a Western country. And in 20 years of coming to China, there is nothing I've not been able to do here that I would have been able to do in the UK. I actually feel much safer here. You go to, luckily England hasn't gone down this road, but the US, you've got guns, there's many people killed with gun crime. So, it's very different here in China. And I think start asking the questions, why do these people think like that? And I strongly believe, as I say earlier, it's a male-dominated expat community in Thailand, the Philippines too. And I think it's because they spend, from what I saw in Thailand, a lot of them will spend a lot of time in a bar or a pub, drinking beer, watching the girls go by. Nothing wrong with that. But I think the only media they consume is Western mainstream media a lot of the time. That to me is the problem. That Western mainstream media has a very negative bias on China. And then because of the way social media works, if they're looking on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram and they're consuming content that is China negative, they will get offered more and more of that China negative content. So they get these narratives which are generally started by Western agencies, possibly NGOs, possibly media, maybe the CIA, and then those narratives spread very quickly in Western mainstream media, and then the anti-China crowd picks them up and starts also spreading them on social media. And so that's why they have this one-sided view of China. And it's quite interesting because all of these people I spoke to numerous guys in Thailand. None of them have ever actually been to China. And, it's just quite funny. But, when you look at some of the narratives, you can understand why. I think they just need to get out their bubble and actually come and visit here. And I think they will be very, very surprised at what it's really like here. And if you look at some of the narratives, there was something recently on Twitter, and it was actually a short video clip of someone paying, a Chinese person paying in a supermarket with FacePay, Alipay's FacePay. And the whole conversation went on. There was hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of replies to the thread, and it was all about, look, how the government are keeping a watch on you, how you have to do things because of your social credit. Just absolutely ridiculous. And the saddest thing was the amount of people in the thread that actually believed what they were reading. They actually believed it, and I actually posted a comment to push back against it, and I got attacked. It's just absolutely unbelievable. But just on that social credit thing, you come to China and you ask any Chinese about social credit, they will look at you as if you're mad. They will have never heard of social credit. And the reason why they've never heard of social credit is because it doesn't actually exist. So just to finish off, very recently I was in Xinjiang, which is has been in the Western media. It's been sort of described, I think, in one article as a dystopian hellscape. So I was in Xinjiang. We actually spent about 2.5 weeks in Xinjiang. We drove right from one side in Hami, right across to Kashgar, taking in Turpan, Aksu, Kucha, and we drove down the Duku Highway. And there'll be a number of videos coming about that. But I actually shot a video which is up on my other channel called Walk Fly Drive. If you want to watch it, it's up here. But basically, I walked around a park, a public park in the city of Kashgar, and I was absolutely amazed by the facilities in that park. There was old people playing cards, dancing. There was younger people playing basketball, football, on their bicycles, playing table tennis, playing badminton. And, you know, they were all there relaxing, having a great time. And just as a aside, I was absolutely gobsmacked because in most other parts of China, the biggest sport for young people is basketball. But in Xinjiang, they're really into football. And there was many of the young teenagers who were wearing Premier League football shirts. One lad had a Man U shirt on, I think another had a Chelsea shirt on, there's a lad with an Arsenal shirt on, Liverpool. So they're really, really into football, but they were all having a great time, you know, and it's absolutely ridiculous that people think they're trying to, you know, suppress and eradicate people in that area. There's just no such thing. Kashgar is a city in Xinjiang which is a majority of Uyghur people, and that park, there'll also be another video going on where I walk around the old town there. Again, many people enjoying themselves. I had some fantastic interactions with a load of Uyghur kids there. Again, that will come in another video, but I just think it's very, very interesting how all these people, these expats, form the opinions, and it's all formed on Western mainstream media. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Please leave comments if you live in China, if you visited China, what your thoughts are about what your impressions of freedoms in China are. As I say, for somebody who's lived here for 7 years and been visiting for almost 20 years, I can actually tell you that it's no less free than living in the UK. And I think in some aspects, you probably even have more freedom here because you can do more, because your money goes further. The cost of living is significantly less here than it is in the UK. Anyway, that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, give it a thumbs up. However, as always, for now, take care.